who are creating a legacy for sisterhood worldwide, but you're also co-creating families, you're creating grandchildren. So it's really, really wonderful. I'm so pleased to introduce this panel to everyone and to welcome each one of you to this afternoon, this beautiful afternoon at the Women Economic Forum in its digital edition, coming to you from Bangalore, India. So welcoming the lovely ladies who are our illustrious panelists for this afternoon. And we have a very important, engaging conversation ahead of us. My name is Mansi, and it's my privilege to introduce this conversation to you. We have a global audience for this conference. It's a continental conference across 5 continents around the globe. So we're going to be live for almost 14 hours today. So it's an action-packed day across 7 auditoriums, tracks, if you may, the new world of doing things. So now please allow me to welcome our panelists. We're in conversation with Indian public sector undertakings, and we are here with the directors. We are here with women of power, who are representing the voices of the directors. They've held or are holding positions of power and making decisions that sort of upholds the integrity of the world that we're fortunate enough to live in. And these are, this is really an epitome of leading with purpose, leading with love, and much to learn, much to aspire to. Please join me in welcoming Shomita Datta, former Executive Director, Corporate for SAIL India. Welcoming you, ma'am. Welcoming Dr. Alka Mittal, Director HR for Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited, ONGC, better known as India.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you. Welcome, ma'am. Welcoming Baldev Kaur Sukhi, Director of Finance of NBCC India Limited. Welcoming you with all our hearts. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And our last and a lovely panelist for today is Shabita Natraj, the General Manager of Indian Oil Corporation Limited. It's wonderful to have such an illustrious, prestigious panel of women leaders from all over the country who've held positions of power and pivotal roles in these organizations that sort of really chisel the way we function.
Mansi, could you introduce Usha Singh? Madam,
I think I didn't. Yes.
Yeah, please do.
Yes.
She's fine now. She was not able to log in, but she's there now.
Thank you so much for that, Sumita. Thank you. I'm welcoming Usha Singh. She's the Director, Human Resources at MOIL, leading in manganese production in India and really sort of one of the largest. So we'll hear that perspective as well. My honor to pass it to our moderator for this conversation to drive this conversation ahead. I welcome Sumita Datta once again, the former Executive Director of Corporate Affairs at SAIL. Over to you, ma'am. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Mansi. And good afternoon, ladies. It's so wonderful to finally be face-to-face with all of you. We have been interacting on the phone, but this is, of course, a different experience altogether. And so basically, this last decade or two have been remarkably impactful in the sphere of women's empowerment, acceptance, and pretty much coming into the mainstream of society with increased participation and becoming self-confident achievers in their own, with the minds of their own. So this remarkable transformation comes, on the backdrop of the recent National Family Health and Survey, which was carried out between, I think, 2019 and 21, which found that India now has 1,020 women for every 1,000 men. And this swing towards, a predominantly female population is a remarkable movement for a country which for centuries, it has been one of, as our Amartya Sen calls it, the missing woman. So this truly reflects, the strides that the country has made towards gender equality and women's empowerment. And now with greater access to literacy, the aspirations of women are fast changing. They are asserting themselves and taking charge of their lives, and they are actually playing a critical role in the growth and development of the country. And who better to represent this trend, than this group of achievers which are here today, who have actually laid down new benchmarks and achieved milestones and pretty much raised the bar and reached for the stars in their respective workplaces. So I would, first of all, before we start, just a quick 2-minute introduction from each of you. That would just set the tone, because I don't think you people have met each other. So this is a good way of just 2 minutes introduction. We'll start with Baldev Kaur.
Yeah. Myself, Baldev Kaur Sokhi, Director Finance NBCC. I joined NBCC in the year 1990 as an accounts officer and reached to this ladder of this post. Though I worked in my organization at the various levels, almost covering all the areas relating to the finance, be it compilation or treasury management, even handling the IPOs or implementation of ERP. And I'm able to handle all these activities with the support of my seniors and always with the teamwork. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Madam Usha Singh. You have to unmute yourself. Just unmute yourself. Just unmute. Maybe you can just call one of your colleagues to help you with this unmuting. Meanwhile, till she unmutes herself, can we move to Dr. Alka Mittal?
Good evening, lovely ladies, to all the wonderful women professionals. It's a pleasure to be here, and let me just introduce myself very briefly. I'm again a person who joined ONGC way back in 1985, 1st January 85, put in 37 years, almost 37 years in ONGC, worked in different roles under HR, corporate communications, CSR, etc., and have been to different places. And that has made so much difference to me as a professional. Being in Assam or Mumbai or Baroda has really given me a different perspective of how things work, how people think, how people evolve. And that has helped me a lot as a professional. And I have always enjoyed doing my work, and I'm so happy to be at workplace and equally happy to be at home, and that is what keeps me going, the joy of working and the joy of being with my family. That balance somehow I'm able to keep till date, and that's what I think is the secret of my success.
Very correct. I think you spoke of all of us, the joy of working as well as the house, both the places give us joy. Very correct, ma'am. Sabita, can we hear?
Good evening, lovely ladies, and good evening, lovely audience out there. It's a great occasion to be with all of you. I am Sabita Nataraj. I'm General Manager at Indian Oil, Tamil Nadu State Office now. And as Dr. Alka Mittal said, PSUs give you an opportunity to travel across the country, get posted across the country. So when I was in Delhi, I have met her and we have interacted too. So I have been in Delhi, Mumbai and other places. I have held diverse portfolios, whether it is in retail sales or in corporate communications, and right now in planning and coordination. It has been a great journey. Working in PSU definitely allows you to unearth your own potential and become a better human being, both at home and at workplace. I believe in working, loving whatever I do, whether it's the role of a mother or in the role of a wife or in terms of a daughter-in-law, or being a passionate career professional at Indian Oil. And that is what has brought me here, and that is what has given me an occasion to interact with you all. looking forward to be having a great discussion.
Absolutely. So many roles which women play, and they are wonderful at all of them, I think. So we have Usha Singh back with us. Usha, are you able to unmute yourself now? Just try it out. Why don't you use a different system or something, or maybe?
Usha ji, please log out and then log in again. At times it works. I've seen it in my
Just try
case.
it out.
Just log out, shut down your laptop and then join back.
Try it out, Usha. This come might work.
Yeah,
So till then, we'll just move forward. So now coming, to the representation of women, the percentage of women employees. Just a second. Usha is on the line. I'll just take this. Hello. Yeah, Usha. What is the issue? Hello. Hello. Anyway, so even say our parliamentary representation itself is pretty low. I think as of now it's about 11.2% in the Lok Sabha, and of course this has improved from what it was when it started. It was about 4.2 or something, but still there's a long way to go. Even in the boardrooms, for that matter, the number of women directors which should be there in the board is much lower than what is mandated. So how does it happen in your organizations? What is the kind of percentage of women employed in it? Is it roughly compared with industry averages, or how does it? Can we just hear about it? We'll start with Baldev.
Yeah, Sumita, in NBCC, the percentage of women employees is lower, and it is at around 11.32%, which comes to 107 number of women employees as against the total strength of 938 officers and A and B and C grade employees. But if I talk about the industry average, and due to the pandemic, there is a disruption in the economic activities, and lockdowns and other things happened. So that average has gone down, because there are so many women working in the unskilled category, and due to that they are not able to contribute much as earlier in comparison to the earlier. But I am now hopeful that that ratio will definitely be increased with the opening of the economy, and with the vaccination drive and all is going on well.
Well, let's look forward to that.
Yeah. But in NBCC, we have been continuously improving, trying to improve our gender equality by adopting the best human resource policies and the practices, and we are also trying to do it at the recruitment level itself.
Oh,
at the recruitment level, we have been taking care that will definitely induct more and more women employees. Like I have been going, as far as our finance division is concerned, we have been recruiting through the institutes every year, like 10 number of management trainees. So
yes,
I am just trying that at least out of the 10, 50% should be of women, though we are not getting that much, but my inclination is always towards that.
So good to have women at the helm,
Yeah.
Yeah. How is it in your organization in ONGC, Dr. Alka?
Yes, Sumita ji and friends, in the oil industry, historically, the ratio of women to men has been fairly low. Mm-hmm. So what I have seen in case of ONGC is that after the turn of the century, the ratio has got better. We are having more and more women at workplace, and the best part, we have the present percentage of women to men is we have 7.5% women, and it has risen from 5% at the turn of the century. Oh, and good. What is more heartening here is that in last 5 years, I have seen 421 women joining our workforce. at induction level, at executive level.
Okay.
And they are working in technical, engineering, geosciences disciplines. In fact, 51% women are from technical area. And 19 women today are working in the offshore fields, gaining wonderful experience and exposure. And 144 women are there working in the remotest of onshore fields. So this is the highlight of our gender ratio. Only challenge for us right now is that how do we increase the number of women at the middle level, you know, because when once they join, after that they continue to be with the organization. We have to facilitate, as Baldevji very nicely said, the best of policies are required. But the challenge also is that in STEM courses, the number of women are growing now. The girls are joining more and more the professional courses. So once there are more girls in science, scientific, technical, and engineering and management disciplines, we'll have more girls in our workforce. So that is what we are looking at. But the policies and the effort of the organization is very much in the right direction. And what I am seeing, having a female member on the recruitment board makes lots of difference. As a policy, everywhere we have a female member, whether it is a person at normally a GM and above level will be there. So that is the way we go.
It's a very good step. So we are so happy to have Usha back. So,
yeah, thank you, ma'am.
So we can actually hear you.
Yes.
Usha, we were just wanting
So sorry for the technical glitch, whatever happened.
No,
So I'm Usha Singh. I'm a director HR now in Manganese Ore India Limited, which is MOIL, largest producer of manganese ore in the country. So my journey begins from a brief stint at Tata Steel. So it was 1.5 years at Tata Steel. And then I worked around 25 years in Steel Authority of India Limited. So it was 10 years in Bokaro and another 15 years in the corporate office in Delhi. And then I moved on to become general manager and heading the business development and corporate planning function at NMDC, which is the largest iron ore mining public sector company in the country. And now in the last 3 years now, I am Director HR in MOIL Manganese Ore India Limited. So this is my brief introduction. And as regards the first question you've asked, ma'am, that's regarding the percentage of women in the industry and my organization. So now I'm representing the mining sector. So mining sector certainly has its own challenges for women, and especially in the present organization when 70% of the production is coming from underground mines. But so the industry average, I would say, is same as what public sectors have, around 6-7%. But in MOIL, overall percentage is very high, which is around 14%. And why it is high is something not to be very happy about, because it's more of the compassionate employment thing which is there. So, just like Coal India, most of the mines of, almost all the mines of MOIL is 100 years old. And the systems, the legacy, what we carry is that there is substitute employment in case of even normal death, and other schemes are there, as a result of which we have more of women coming from compassionate background. But in offices also, I would say now, as Madam Ms. Mittal was sharing, that even in executive cadre, women are joining. We have around 9% of our executive in women as women, and now we are sending them as personnel officers, as geologists, as doctors. Certainly, they're all being posted to mines, and that's certainly making such a welcome change. When I see the young engineers, young geologists recruited and making the presentation that what should be the geology roadmap for the company, I really feel very good about the whole recruitment process.
Great. Very interesting. And Savita, how is it in Indian Oil?
It is almost the same and a little better also. While the overall number of women will match up the industry average of 8 to 10%, what I would like to spotlight is at a state level, at the Tamil Nadu state office level, we have about 18% of women officers. And officers, executives I'm mentioning you, whatever we highlight is in terms of the executive level who rise up the ladder. And out of those 18% of women, there are about 54.4% of them who are lesser than 35 years of age. So that actually brings out a telling fact that while we look at the number of women at our level or higher levels currently, we should also be looking at those who are actually getting inducted in, and that actually reflects a point which was highlighted by a leading daily economist some time back, which said that while the employment rate is actually coming down for women as a total in India from 35%, it has already come down to 26%, and COVID has dealt a very severe blow on women employment rate. So what we are actually talking about could be a reflection on the social kind of mosaic that is there. So while more and more women come into the executive level of PSUs or other corporates as an employment one, it all depends on how many of them have actually go up the ladder for about 30-35 years. As Dr. Alka Mittal says, she has a rich experience of 37 years. And how many of us actually look at a 3.5 decade of working experience in these levels? So that could be a highlight as to how many of us are going to be rising up the ladder and paving the way for others.
Very true, very well said. So we keep talking as a measure to increase the number of women. There are certain women's welfare schemes which people do, to proactive steps. But we keep reading of Facebook and Apple and all they have done. One of these companies, the other day I was reading that they are giving 180 days leave for egg freezing. I mean, just see the level to which they go. I mean, not even maternity. So that's the kind of outreach they do for women. But somehow in our kind of setups in public sectors, we find it's maybe just cab drops and maybe sabbaticals. That also some public sectors have it, some don't. So what are the proactive steps being taken now? I mean, in your organizations for this kind of thing? We'll start with Dr. Alka.
Yeah. So I'll share the three-pronged strategy we have adopted. One is the basic hygiene factors where I would put all the maternity leave, the childcare leave, which is 2 years.
That is a government norm.
Government this thing, but or not all public sector have adopted that. That is there. Paternity leave is there for the guys who are there, whose wives are also working in spirit, in keeping with the spirit. Besides that, we have also introduced about 5 years back, in view of the security concerns of the women, that a lady who's staying back in office till late or who's traveling to different locations on tour, she'll get a vehicle irrespective of her level. So the expenditure on it is hardly 25 lakh for ONGC, but the way it has made the women colleagues feel empowered, they don't need to feel worried if they are landing at 11 o'clock in Kolkata or at Delhi. Delhi is more of a concern, I would say. And so that has empowered the girls. Besides this, you are able to hear?
So reassuring for the family also.
Yeah, less worry for the family, because I remember when I used to travel, my husband would be just telling me to confirm once I check into the hotel. So those kind of concerns are addressed. And in addition to that, we are, I have already mentioned about the recruitment process, how we have a woman on the panel. We are also ensuring that in all trainings, all learning and development initiatives, women are not left behind. They are always there. We deliberately give consideration to them when it comes to transfers as well. If we are able to keep them with their family, we will try for that. And it works most of the times because they are not too many in number. And in addition to this, what is the best part is now we have introduced a program, a leadership program for the women. So idea here is on one side hygiene factors, second is developmental factors. When we give them opportunity to work in tough field roles, or we give them an opportunity to take on very exciting assignments, we also give them an opportunity to build on their skills, their capabilities. This gives them lots of confidence. So second is that, and the third part is giving them an opportunity to network, to talk to other women. So whether it is through a forum which is there across public sector, women in public sector, or it is through a women development forum at each location. Since 1996, we have a women development forum where the women in a particular location, they get together, they exchange their views on their developmental, I would say, aspirations and their developmental strategies that they are adopting. The senior most woman at that location is chairing the WDF. So this way, this three-pronged strategy has so far worked very good. Recently, we have introduced a special leadership program for women called Urjaswini, because we are in the energy sector. So we are looking at grooming 25 women to take on the challenge of being in the board, because what I would say is the number should be at least 40% women in the board. So for that, we have to make sure that so many women are coming up.
Ready for it, yes.
And they are dreaming of it, because at times women hold back. That is something which should not happen. So they have to be very confident and daring in this. That's what I would say. I can keep talking on this, Sumita ji, but I would like to listen.
Yeah, and being an HR person, I can very well understand, but wonderful initiative.
Yes.
And how is it, Usha, in Moil? Because you're another HR person.
Yes. Yes. So, ma'am, Mithil has put it in a different sets, I would say. And what I have done, or I have tried to steer in my organization is, like, one is I have taken, say, hierarchical wise. So for even the middle, see, in mining sector, let's say I was the first woman GM in NMDC. No, I mean, that was a like E8 position, first one. Even now there is no E8 level and above women there. And same for Moil, there is one, say, just E7 officer which has come. So so you join as a director and there is no E9, no E8, no, just one E7 who is just come in. So for me, what I've done is, so E5, E6, if this can be the catchment sections where I can groom from there for the leadership positions. For these identified women, every year I'm steering a project-based mentorship program. So it is continued for around, say, 6 months. There are 5-6 women every year which I'm sponsoring, or for which they have a mentor outside the organization and inside the organization. Inside is always a director. So I will always facilitate, but it is the concerned director. So if the project is taken in the finance stream, so the finance director also discusses and then decides on the project.
Oh.
And that project has to be useful for Moil. And that person gets at the same time some attitudinal or behavioral and leadership inputs on sustained basis from the local faculty member of the IIM Nagpur or IMT, which Nagpur itself. That is the academic input, the independent input, and at the same time, you have given them the project on which they have to make presentation and they have to take it to the conclusion stage. And the finality will be presentation before the CMD. So it's like a sustained 6 months process. So and you know, I'm so happy to share that in the last year, when out of 6 projects what we had taken, 2 of them have actually resulted in some project development for the team. So suppose a lady had taken vendor development program, and that is actually being put into place. So that is for the senior or the mid-level management, what you say. And for the lowest strata also, I just now mentioned that there is a lot of compassionate employment in this organization. You know, women are illiterate or they have to really do manual working in mining. So I don't want to leave them alone by doing that job only. So I have started like one in brief, at least 2-3 programs I'm organizing where I'm calling around say 50 to 100 people, and because there are a large number of them. And there for them, I have half a day session along with good lunch and then some free time for them to network and have a good time, telling them like, you have to be confident, you take pride in yourself, that self-confidence, hygiene, don't feel guilty that you're away from home, some basic things. I've got some psychologists and some good faculty members. So these 2 programs on the training side. And in addition, say, I've just got the base division for 10 years approved for the workers. And there I've got a special clause approved that we're not able to maintain our creche in a very good condition. So that's another hygiene factor, the intervention. But then in lieu of that, we'll be paying to all women who have young kids up to 5-6 years of age, 750 rupees per month. So it was like a bonus which was coming only from because a lady director happened to be at the helm of HR while this wage negotiation was being done. So, and certainly for these steps, supportive steps while for traveling and all that is, MOIL being an organization where executive strength is small, is very easy to be done. So we identify all these women, and whenever they have problem, it's very easy to coordinate. No, you are going to stay in a 5-star only, no issues, irrespective of your rank. So that kind of thing is very easy for us to do. That's all, Sumita ma'am.
She has, I think there is an issue.
I think Baldevji, you can begin then.
Yeah.
That will be ideal. Let us not lose time. There's so much we are
all
to listen to.
The diversity and inclusion is an integral part of the working in the NBCC, and many of our policies are framed especially towards the making the workplace a safe and the productive for the women employees. And we have also been taking care, special care, as Dr. Alka Mittal has already said, at the time of making the transfers and postings specifically for women, we are taking care of it. And secondly, we have also been offering the flexi timings, like that is all for all the employees itself, like 1 hour relaxation in the morning and in a week or so. And the child care leave is in existence in NBCC since 2010. I think we are the first company to adopt this policy, and we have been.
We did it in 2007.
Oh, okay. I thought we are the first one. Okay.
And there was no woman director. There was no woman at senior level. Still, our officers decided on going ahead.
And apart from that, there are maternity leaves. So there are then family planning leaves. Then there is a leave for on the adoption of the child also exists in our company. And then sabbatical leave is already there, which can be utilized by the women employees in case they want, and that is also for the other employees also. As Dr. Mittal has also said, we have also been placing the women at all the key positions in the NBCC. Like our real estate division is headed by the women employee. One of the subsidiary CEO is a woman employee. Our project management group's head is a woman employee. Then R&D is headed by the woman, and a board section is headed by the woman. There are almost all the key positions. That gives the motivations to the middle level management group women, so that they will take the guidance from them, they look upon them and then take initiative to move upward. And that is a big thing in our company. And our bosses are also including them almost in all the decision makings also. Like if they are going for some meetings or for reviews, they are taking them along. So that is the criteria, so that they can also get themselves empowered and learn from the getting the exposure from the places where our seniors are going and otherwise. So, and flexi timings I have already told you. So these are some of the measures which are being adopted in NBCC. Yeah. I think Ms. Savita, you can.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think this itself is an indication of how, public sector women leaders take forward. It is almost like we are catalysts of change and we help each other also. Moving forward for us, actually, Dr. Alka Mittal from the industry, she's the first director HR and she has been a great role model for the oil industry itself, and we have a director in the refinery section. And to highlight, once you hear one leader from an oil industry sector talking about the women friendly initiatives, you have heard it for the entire industry. So in terms of what she has said in maternity benefits, or in terms of childcare, it's there in Indian Oil also. Probably would the only highlight is, I'm sure it is there in theirs. So apart from maternity benefit, which is 180 days now, which was 60 days. When I was having my son or my daughter in my tummy, I had only, almost like 90 days of maternity leave. But now it is 180 days for the women. They have childcare benefits up to 2 years leave without pay also. And they have a husband joining leave. So these are all there for the entire oil industry. And there is also, as she said, women are, given absolute, eminence in terms of their comfort, as, in terms of safe working environment, whether they are in our supply points or in terms of customer facing touch points. The highlight of that is, while we have women at the directorial levels also, we have women heading our most quite difficult working supply points. We have women leaders, taking up positions in terminals, bottling plants, and area offices, which has huge vendor and customer facing options. And you have that across the country. And in Tamil Nadu itself, we have women heading terminals and bottling plants and depots. And that is a reflection again of women taking up, coming out and actually taking up the challenge of, getting over the social norms, or whether it is in terms of work or otherwise. And I would always say that a PSU oil sector is the best place for women to work, because there is absolutely no difference in terms of pay scale or benefits. And that is something we women have never had to work for, fight for. When you enter the organization, there is absolutely no difference based on your gender. You don't enter the organization based on your gender, but there is no differentiation in terms of your pay scale or benefits. There is absolutely pay parity and benefits parity. So to that extent, the entire oil industry is quite women friendly. Yes, they are coming up with many reforms to encourage women to look at occupying higher positions, because they realize that having a woman on board is definitely beneficial in bringing out more customer friendly policies. So to that extent, we are quite adept at it, and we have enough policies enabling women to take up higher positions. That is in terms of what she has been highlighting so far, the kind of what are the women friendly policies. So as a group, if we think we can actually highlight what are the changes that is coming out, I would like to submit the women, the women who are actually joining the company at a younger level. They are, having a dream from the beginning. So if you ask, any of us who have joined, many of us might say, I really didn't know that I would be reaching this position. But that is, kind of a comment that may not come from a woman or a lady who is in joining the workforce now, because again, what I'm highlighting it is in terms of the social mores and the lifestyle changes that have already come about. We as mothers, we have mothered our daughters, and we have actually helped our sisters go forward in their ambitions and their career opportunities. So in the same way, I think the younger women are actually looking at a different aspirational level. So Sumita ma'am, in our absence, Dr. Mittal took the lead, and Baldev has already shared her highlights. And I've also shared my highlights in terms of.
I missed it, but I'll share it with you later on some later date maybe. So let's move on. Besides this, like you know, Dr. Alka mentioned a lot about, you know, what are the changes now we are seeing that earlier, you know, women, even in our organization, mine and Usha's earlier organization, SAIL, we used to find women are mostly in HR and finance. And now with the stereotypes which are changing, we find they are going into becoming crane operators and, you know, supply chain and warehouses, and like even in the country, I mean, we are having ladies who are going into combat in army and fighter aircraft and all of that. So for this, you know, what do you think should be the required skill sets that women should aim at? I mean, for their employability skills to improve, do you think there should be some specific skill sets which we should define, or do you think that more than skill set is the attitudinal change which is required? What is in your view? We'll start with Usha.
So I would certainly say, like, there are three big circles in which our constraints or what pull back women can be put. One is the me, myself, the things which are in my control. That is, you know, my choices. Whether I want to do something on my own, whether I want to travel, whether I want to take that pain. So it is me. Then it is my circle, it is the society, the organization where I'm working, and the third one is certainly the family, where all these three. So I think, you know, the circle in which I operate, their attitudinal change is very much required. That, you know, whether I want to do it, you know, that self factor has to be given a lot of focus. And, you know, if I am able to deliver my best, and I want to, there has to be something, you know, there has to be, nothing comes to us without any cost. For example, I would like to say that, you know, we women cannot be everywhere all the time. So there has to be some sacrifice. When I see my young colleagues, even executives, and they feel upset that they are not able to attend, say, one of the annual events of their child, I say that, see, if you want to be the top executive, and at the same time, at each role, if you want, there should be no compromise, I think we'll be wrong, and we'll be lying to ourselves that while growing up the ladder, we have not sacrificed something or the other. So, you know, that attitude, that there has to be, leadership comes at a cost. And we as a women, we have to not look for an easy path. You know, everywhere when all these policies are being made, when lots of childcare leave will be given, when lots of maternity leave instead of 3 months to 9 months, and so on and so forth. On one set, they are very, you know, the family which needs it, when there is no absolute no way out, it is certainly very helpful. But at the same time, there is pressure of the family that you have the option to take leave for 2 years, you sit at home and do this. So, you know, that striking a balance between the two is also very important.
All about balance.
I mean, it sounds very anti-feminine, but, you know, if we think that everything is so hunky-dory about being a woman and still reaching the top of the ladder, I think we'll still be wrong. If we'll be denying some facts, or we're denying some circumstances, what we have gone through to come to this position.
Absolutely.
So I think, you know, that attitudinal change, that, you know, we have to make some sacrifices to come to the position where we want to be, and there is no guilt about it.
Yes.
There is no guilt about it. If men can be ambitious, we can be ambitious too. So I think, you know, I'm reminded of a quote which says, you know, like, you look like a woman, you think like a man, and you work like a donkey, because you have to work doubly hard to achieve what men can do at that position.
Very true, very true.
That's all, ma'am.
What about Indian Oil, Sabita?
Indian Oil, in terms of building up skill sets, if you ask, I would only like to submit one point to all of you. I firmly believe that it is an established fact that striving for excellence or working towards excellence is not based on gender. And I have already highlighted that entry into an organization is not based on gender, especially in PSUs. There is absolutely no difference in terms of pay scales or benefits that we get. The hard work, sincerity, or commitment are also values that are not based on gender. Success is not based on gender. That being the case, when we are actually talking about what should be the special skill sets that women should have, I would only like to underline a point. PepsiCo, ex-PepsiCo chief Indra Nooyi actually highlighted it very nicely. She said the women's biological cycle and her corporate cycle do not really go in tandem. So when she is actually, doing extremely well, she studies extremely well, and then she opts for a career, and that is a time when, she also gets into marriage and, and childbirth. So probably during that time, her, she takes a back seat. And that is sometime probably she's losing out. So her biological cycle, because she is the only person who has to bear, a child. I remember a funny interaction that I had with my boss when I had my second second child in my tummy. He used to say, "You're going to have a nice time in your maternity, kind of leave." And I used to tell him yes, I'm definitely going to enjoy it. But there were times when men used to think that women are going to have a nice time of,
Yes, they feel very envious. They feel envious that we get
they
all
used to feel envious.
Yes,
So the biological cycle doesn't really go in tandem with the corporate cycle, especially in a private kind of.
What is your view in this?
Sumita ji and all the girls, one thing I would like to just reiterate here, which we have all acknowledged, that there was this survey conducted by WNET. It is VBox National Employability in a test that was conducted in 2021, where it was found that the employability of women is higher than that. Employability means the capabilities of women are higher than the men. Women are at 46.8%, while men are at 45%.
That's very interesting.
So we have nothing less in us, maybe a little better. But while we are talking about the skills which we should possess, the attitude is what is a major issue. I will not say that we need to sacrifice. I would just say we need to keep balancing. This balancing act goes on for us right from the day one. Once we take on the responsibility of having a family, once we are married. So then we have to keep shifting our priorities. Sometimes it will be the workplace which gets all attention, and another time it will be the family. But for that, what we have to do, we have to have 3 skills, both at home as well as at the workplace. We have to be very collaborative. At home also, I have had those, evening discussions with my family where my mother-in-law, my 2 daughters, even when they were 4 and 11 years old, and my husband, we would sit and talk. I would tell them that there's this compulsory posting at Northeast to be taken. So one evening in Bombay, we decided the younger one will go with me to Northeast Jorhat, and my husband and my daughter and my elder one, who was in 11th at that time, she said, "Mom, we'll manage. Dadiji is there." So that way, my mother-in-law was also a part of the process, and my children. My younger one came with me to Jorhat all the way, and she was
decision, Lema. Take it.
One is collaborative, and that has to happen at workplace also, where we need to collaborate. What happens at times, women keep their issues, their thoughts, their strengths to themselves. So they have to speak up. They have to share their concerns, and they have to share their thoughts on a particular point which is being discussed. That is very important. When meetings are happening, we should speak. And we may be the only one in the hall, but there are others. We are not any different from the men. We have worked equally hard. So we should be talking. Collaborative skills, both at workplace and at home, is very important. Second, I feel, is the power of influence, where we as women, we should make sure that we talk, and we talk sense. For that, we have to be reading a lot. We have to be building on our skills. We have to build on our qualifications. Like I have been studying all along. Even today, I am enrolled for a course which will get over on 13th of January. I'm at times burning midnight lamp just to appear for all those evaluations which are happening online. And for all to do all, need to be very good at managing our time. I still remember when I was in Bombay, when I would get into the cab, when the taxi fellow would turn down the meter, I would tell myself, "Ab mera bhi meter down ho gaya for my workplace," and I would start planning my day at work that time. And while coming back, vice versa, I would be planning my day at home.
Dinner, the menu for dinner.
Spending time with children, going for a walk with my husband or with my elder daughter, whatever, giving some free time to my mom-in-law. So that way, you have to keep your focus. And it's lots of skill that is required in managing all this in both the ends.
Absolutely. Wonderful. And Baldev, what do you think?
We all know the development of the skill and upgradation of the knowledge will definitely put you ahead in your career. But as far as my takeaways are concerned, as Dr. Alka Mittal has also said, there are 3 takeaways from my side. One is we should stay optimistic and we be self-motivated, and we learn the techniques of the time management, which is very, very important for a woman to be successful in her professional career. But it is also vital for the woman to learn some traits of courage and positive attitudes, and as well as be truthful to her duties. And she must also show some decency and you can say morality. But that is my view, because I have also seen and agree with the views of Dr. Alka Mittal also. Yes, we should not put ourselves, we can't do it. We are having this problem and we are having that problem. That we have to manage by balancing both between the work and the house.
And talking about skills, Usha, I was just reminded of your long stint which you spent in the chairman's office, about almost 9 to 10 years. And we've had the toughest of chairmans and all kinds of good chairmans, not so good, khadus chairmans. So just wanted to ask you, what is the skill in this? How did you manage all of them and so impeccably? Just a tip. What did you do?
Well, ma'am, I think, Sumita ma'am, you have touched a raw nerve. So I would say that, let me talk of the positives. So really, I had a long 9-year stint as the technical assistant to the chairman of Steel Authority of India Limited, and chairman's moved and I used to be there. So the positives, I think that, I've been annealed, I've been pickled, I've been tempered, I've become ductile, I've become malleable, whatever, to give good quality of steel lady.
Quality of steel now, huh?
So that inferno that I was there in, so certainly has tempered me as good steel, and that will certainly remain something, life skills, what I have learned.
Actually.
But ma'am, I must say that sometimes it has been very tough. When it coincided with my child also being in 10th and being 12th, and when you ask for 1 day leave that he has his exam, then sometimes, as you said, khadus, I will not name, but there have been khadus bosses, when they doubled the assignment that day, that I do not take leave, to ensure that I do not take leave. At 2 o'clock in the night, I get messages that I have to complete that job that very day. So there have been very difficult moments also. But I think, what the attitude which many of us just now talked about is like, if you just try to give your best in the job what you have at hand, and you are not satisfied with anything less than giving 100%. So that keeps you going.
Exactly.
And that stint made me actually compete with the best. So if I had to make a draft of 8 pages, and if the chairman of Steel Authority of India Limited also thinks of 1 line more than me, or 1 word he makes a correction, it used to hit me. No, that's not correct, Risha. How he could think that and you couldn't. So if you compete with the best of the best, then I think it is always a very big learning process. That's how I see the whole journey.
We have just 5 minutes left. So quickly, I would like to ask you on a personal note, just quickly, half a minute each. that, I mean, do you guys have any hobbies? Because being on such top posts and so busy and all, and if so, how do you take out time for it? Quickly, we'll start with Baldev.
With the time management skills, definitely I have been able to pursue my hobby for cooking. I have been cooking for my family.
After this session, we should have a party at your place.
Sure. You are welcome. But definitely, I always got the support from my family and from my post-marriage, from my in-laws, from my husband, without whose support it is not possible to pursue our hobbies and maintain the work-life balance.
Sabita, what about you? Quickly.
I love reading, and I love reading anything that comes to my hand, even if it is a paper, folded, namkeen types. I'll read that also. And I love binging on Netflix and.
Oh, nice. What do you recommend? The latest on Netflix. What do you recommend?
I saw The Crown series.
Crown. That's very nice.
I love binging on Netflix.
Dr. Alka, quickly, what are your hobbies?
I have always loved going for yoga, and morning walks, and that I have maintained. Whatever happens, even today in Delhi when there's pollution, I switch on the air purifier and I walk on the and do my Surya Namaskar for sure. And as Baldev mentioned, I also love cooking, and it is the best, I would say, stress buster for me. When I go back home and I cook for my family, I feel that
so nice. Usha,
and for me, I'm a fitness enthusiast. So for me, come what may.
Sure.
Sometimes it's yoga, sometimes it's gym, sometimes it's running, sometimes it's walk, whatever it is. But the world can take rest. I take my me time for that.
Wow, wonderful. So, ladies, it's been really, really so interesting to talk to you. There were so many other things I wanted to interact, but there is just about a minute and a half left, and this automatically gets switched off, So. I would like to wind up in the sense that it's before it cuts off, let me just thank you guys. It's been so stimulating to interact with each of you.
Sumita, you are muted.
Yes, so as I was mentioning, it was really a stimulating session, and enjoyed interacting with you people who are actually spearheading the high tide of transformation, and this will have a ripple effect all through. And even if this motivates and makes a difference to a few lives, I think it's a job well done. So may you ladies continue to evolve and energize and expand the wonderful work you people are doing, and continue to make a difference to society. And we have Mansi there telling us that it's time out.
Thank you. I'll just take a couple of seconds. I wanted to thank each one of you for a wonderful, engaging discussion. And it's, it's heartwarming to see that women are not just in these positions of power, but also to really get an insight of what's happening in, your big organizations, really get a peephole into what's going on, into the gender parity that's being created. It's inspiring to know. And it's, you all have created a legacy in each one of these organizations. And for that, we'd like to honor you with a title, with an award that will be emailed to you. But I would like to bestow upon this title of excellent leaders, exceptional leaders of excellence to each one of you, to Sumita ma'am for moderating a wonderful discussion, to Dr. Alka Mittalji, to Ms. Baldev Kaur, Usha Singh, and Sabita Natraj. It's been a phenomenal conversation. And on behalf of the Women Economic Forum, I would like to offer my gratitude to each one of you for your time and for the women, the leaders that you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumita. Thank you, all of you.
It's been great interacting with you all. Absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was wonderful. All of you are really, you're not heroes, you're sheroes. You're sheroes.
Yes, so wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
There are other sheroes. We are just reflecting them.
Okay, all the best, ladies.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All the best. Thank you.